when human try to move from one country to other country, they require passport. If we want to export certain goods from one country to other country, of course we require certain kind of permits, and the custom department will try to control that trade. Now what about the wild animals? So if they are supposed to be traded, then they also require certain kinds of permits. We can call them as passports for those wild animals. Basically, such kind of international trade in wild animals and plants is governed by one international convention called as CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Let's try to understand that from UPSC perspective. Already UPSC has asked questions for prelims examination for this particular convention. We can expect question even in mains examination. Welcome to Legacy IAS Academy, and in this global convention series we are covering most important conventions for our examination, prelims as well as mains. For this session we are going to cover CITES Convention. First of all, I will give you brief idea, but before that, small announcement related to optional subjects that are going to start at Legacy IAS Academy. 4 important optionals which are mostly opted by the UPSC aspirants, that they are sociology, anthropology, PSR and psychology. All of these are going to start next month, 17th of August. Especially 30th of July, we are going to have open session for PSR by Harshit sir. 30th of July afternoon 2:30, it will be live session on YouTube. If you want to have interaction with the faculty also, you can join that session. If you want to know more about all the, let's say, detailed framework and the fee structure about this, you can reach out to Legacy IAS Academy. Now let's talk about the CITES. First of all, basics in terms of why do we need such kind of international convention in the first place itself. We'll talk about the details, but why aspect is very important. First of all, you should understand that all these wild species of flora and fauna, when they are basically traded, if they are endangered species, that means they are basically threatened. They are threatened. Threatened to what? We can say that they are threatened to extinction. Okay. And if that illegal trade continues to happen, because of that there is threat of extinction. We can say that it impacts the biodiversity of the region. At the same time, such illegal trade is resulting into more and more zoonotic diseases in recent times. So wild flora and fauna we are talking, right? So because of that, zoonosis concerns are also there. Along with that, such kind of illegal trade is also being used as a source of funding for anti-national activities, and it acts as a threat to internal security. The way it is also linked to, we can say, Naxalite activities as well as we can say insurgency in Northeast India. So you can see that how it can be, relevant to your GS3 paper environment section as well as internal security part and international relations. Okay, so in this manner we should understand why we need such kind of, let's say, international convention and regulation of, we can say, international trade in those wild flora and fauna. First of all, the basics. Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. Basically, it is also called as Washington Convention, as it was signed in Washington in 1973. Remember the year? That's why it is also called as Washington Convention. Okay. They can ask you by giving the name Washington Convention in prelims examination instead of mentioning it is CITES Convention, or Washington Convention is related to which of the following. So it is related to, we can say that, international trade in endangered species. Okay, it aims to ensure international trade does not threaten the species survival. So we can talk about the conservation of wild flora and fauna. It entered into force in 1975. Now the uniqueness of this, you should know that it was, let's say, signed on 3rd of March, and that's why this particular date is also, we can say that, celebrated as World Wildlife Day. Okay, World Wildlife Day, 3rd March. Remember this, it can be asked in the prelims examination. All over the world it is celebrated as World Wildlife Day. Remember. Then we can talk about, let's say, its secretariat. It is in Geneva, Switzerland, and it is, let's say, administered under UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. Then members, 185 parties are there, including India. India has signed this particular convention in 1976 itself immediately. Okay, so remember India is also party to this, and it is, we can say that, legally binding, although it is not taking over the national laws. Simply we can say that it is enforcing in terms of, let's say, it enacts or enforces the countries to enact their own laws. Now look at this institutional framework. Okay, so it is basically asking each countries or signatory countries to appoint two authorities: management authority and scientific authority. So management authority issues export and import permits under it, ensures legal acquisition of specimens of wild flora and fauna. Look at the let's say species are listed in terms of appendix 1, 2 and 3. Then permits are issued and the trade is regulated. We can say that scientific authority assesses whether the trade is harmful to species or not, and then accordingly we can say that the permits are granted. In India, such kind of, let's say, management authority is additional director general, ADG wildlife, under Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change, Union Environment Ministry. Also, the permits are issued by Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, which is, we can say that, a statutory body created under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. If we talk about the scientific authorities present in India, designated under this particular convention: Zoological Survey of India, Botanical Survey of India, Wildlife Institute of India. So they are, we can say that, the scientific authorities which will give, we can say that, or assess whether the trade is harmful to the species or not in India. Then decision making authority under convention: conference of parties is there, meets every 2 to 3 years, amends the appendix 1 and 2. Okay, global wildlife trade monitored through CITES trade database. So it is maintaining the database of all international trade in wild flora and fauna. All right, so this is important for your prelims examination. Now this is also very important. They can ask directly related to appendices, appendix 1, 2, 3, and depending on the threatened level of, we can say that, or extinction level of particular species, they are included in appendix 1 and 2. We can say that appendix 1, threatened with extinction, highest level of protection must be given. The trade status, it is, we can say, commercial trade is prohibited, except exceptional cases it is allowed. For example, from India, tiger, rhino, Indian bustard. Here you can give examples of, we can say that, Asiatic lion also, Asiatic lion. Then we can say that Asian elephants, gharial, or we can say that even great Indian bustard. All these species which are critically endangered and endangered in India, most of them are included in this particular appendix. You should also understand that recently Wildlife Protection of India, okay, Wildlife Protection Act 1972 was amended, right, in 2023. And through this amendment, earlier there were 6 schedules, so now it is 4 schedules. Okay, and the fourth schedule is basically having, this fourth schedule is now going to have the CITES appendix animals. Okay, separate schedule is created for this CITES, enactment of CITES, we can say that. This is unique kind of development, you should be aware. Then appendix 2, not yet endangered but may become threatened due to such kind of international trade, and that's why it is regulated through export permits. So export permits are required, import permits are not required. This is unique thing. Here we can say that both export and import permits are required in appendix 1. Here only export permit is required. Importing country does not require that permit. For example, in India, if you talk about, let's say, sharks, agarwood, or here you can also add the species like star tortoise. Okay, star tortoise, agarwood. So these kinds of species are included here. Their, let's say, status not yet endangered but may become threatened in future. Then appendix 3 is unique in terms of protected in one country, that particular species seeking international cooperation. That country is seeking that international cooperation from other countries. So it is a kind of bilateral aspect, controlled trade, certificate of origin is required here. See, the permits are required in appendix 1 and 2, but here certificate of origin is required, and individually the countries can add those species unilaterally by member countries. Okay, so this is, we can say, kind of cooperation. Appendix 1, stop, commercial, let's say, trade is prohibited. Appendix 2, control or regulate, and third is cooperate. This is the way you should remember these three appendices under CITES. Now, CITES programs and India. So how they are related? MIKE program is initiative of CITES monitoring the illegal killing of elephants. There are total 10 MIKE sites, highest in Asia, in India. Of course, the elephant population is more in India, and that's why protection of those elephants and their habitats, their corridors is important. 10 MIKE sites have been identified in India. You need not to remember the names, but it generates scientific data for CITES decisions, monitor elephant poaching also. Now, traffic wildlife trade monitoring network, it is also, we can say that, founded by Worldwide Fund for Nature and IUCN, provides research intelligence data to curb illegal wildlife trade, and in this we can say that CITES play important role because it is related to, we can say, illegal trade we have to stop, and that's why we can say traffic is important aspect. Then CITES also provide partnership in ICCWC, International Consortium on Combating Wildlife Crime. You should understand that why we are talking about illegal trade, because illegal wildlife trade, this aspect is, we can say that, fourth largest in terms of illegal trade. Fourth largest in terms of illegal trade, after, we can say that, drugs, human, and third, arms. Okay, fourth will be, we can say that, wildlife trade. Huge, you can understand from this. So that's why we are concerned. Then tree species program regulates international trade in valuable timber species. Pushpa movie jo aaya tha, so red sandalwood, red sandals, so illegal trade, international trade, it is threatened species. We can say that that is endemic to Sechachalam Hills in Andhra Pradesh. So valuable timber species, tree species program helps ensure sustainable use of tree species. So in this manner, we should understand India's active role in CITES. One of the earliest parties joined in 1976. Already we talked. Actively participates in COPs and supports many CITES programs like this one, MIKE program, traffic, and we can say that other programs, initiatives. Now, from mains perspective, it is important, the significance. Okay, we can expect question, the what are different three appendices or details of CITES program. They will mention such factual question. Then what are important initiatives of CITES? Why CITES is important in terms of wildlife conservation? Give it significance. Such kind of question GS3 paper we can expect. So first important aspect is it conserves the endangered species, right? So conservation of endangered species in terms of, we can say that, prohibition and regulation of trade of those, we can say that, species. For example, we can talk about is lion, Asiatic lion, or tigers, rhinos. So basically it is conserving these species. No, it aligns our national efforts, controls illegal wildlife trade. So illegal wildlife trade, especially for tigers, rhinos, or we can say that other species illegally that are, let's say, traded, like tusk of elephants and skin of tigers, horns of rhinos, fins of sharks, all this is illegally traded international level. It is having some kind of huge value, and that's why we can say that, and this population or species population in India is declining because of illegal poaching. So illegal wildlife trade is, we can say, controlled, is significant for India. Then promote sustainable use of biodiversity, regulation of trade, balances conservation and economic interest, especially for plant species, right? Certain agar wood is there, or certain, let's say, other timber species that is there. Sustainable exploitation is, we can say, promoted, protecting biodiversity, strengthen international cooperation, common framework, global partnership. So this is important. Why? Because International trade, if it is happening in illegal manner, it must be regulated. It must be, we can say that international cooperation is required in that aspect. Then supports national conservation laws. So we have in India, we can say Wildlife Protection Act 1972. We have Wildlife Crime Control Bureau. Then we have DRI, Directorate of Revenue Intelligence. Then we have Customs Department. So all these are basically cooperating to prevent illegal trade in, we can say, wildlife. So it is in line with or supporting that, we can say that CITES is supporting all these activities. Improves scientific decision making. Yes, non detrimental findings, evidence based decisions. Any kind of, let's say, wildlife, wild flora and fauna is imported in India, if it is becoming threat to that species as well as the biodiversity of India, it may become invasive species also if it is released accidentally into the wild. So that creates a problem. And that's why scientific advisors, the scientific, we can say, the authorities, they will provide that assessment. And that's why that kind of permit is based on, we can say, evidences. Evidence based decisions are taken. That is also good thing. Protects biodiversity and ecosystem services. So again, we can say that protection of biodiversity and ultimately the ecosystem services, be it related to, we can say that, the overall ecosystem services like related to air purification, water purification, climate control, local climate, and we can say modification. So maintains ecological balance, supports ecosystem services, and finally supports global sustainable development, especially SDG 15, the life on land. Okay, so supports CBD, and we can say that related to global biodiversity framework goals, which is that recently Kunming Montreal biodiversity framework, okay, which has replaced the Aichi biodiversity targets. So it is aligned to that. Sustainable Development Goal 13, 14, 15, okay, land, water, and overall biodiversity or climate change, SDG 13, 14, 15. So in this manner, you should be able to link when the question is asked from mains perspective, relate with various aspects. The efforts in India, efforts related to biodiversity conservation, efforts related to species protection, and we can say that conservation. In this manner, we can write from the mains perspective. Now, quickly, we'll try to solve these prelims MCQs also. So I can give you some time in the comment box. You can give the answers also simultaneously. The question is having four statements, and we have to identify the correct statement about this CITES. CITE aims to ensure that international trade in wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. It is one aim, we can say intention. The Secretariat of CITES functions under UNEP. Just now we talked about that. It is located where? Geneva, Switzerland, where we can say UNEP's secretariat is located. Species included in Appendix 2 are completely prohibited from international trade. See, it is Appendix 1 which is prohibited completely apart from exception. Rather, Appendix 2 is regulated. The trade is regulated, right? Export permits are required. So this is incorrect. India became party to CITES in 1976. This is correct. 1, 2, 4. That means A is the correct answer. Don't you think so? If you differ, then you can mention in the comment box. Correctly matched pairs. How many correctly matched? Now this is, we can say, challenging when we have only one, only two, only three. Elimination method does not work in this kind. Monitoring illegal, we can say, that trade in elephants, illegal killing of elephants. So this is correct. And we have in India 10 sites in India, mic sites in India, right? Traffic, it is related to wildlife trade monitoring network by Wildlife Worldwide Fund and IUCN. So we can say that that is correct, correctly matched. ICCW, it is international partnership to combat, we can say that, wildlife crime. This is also correct. 1, 2, 3 is correct. CITES Appendix 3. So it was related to, we can say, cooperation. Species facing imminent global extinction. This is Appendix 1. This is, we can say that, incorrectly matched. Only 3, that is C is the correct answer for this one. And last question, it is very simple question. Which of the following statement best distinguishes CITES Washington Convention from other international biodiversity agreements? Yes, it provides legally binding targets for reducing greenhouse gas emission. It is not related to greenhouse gas. It regulates international trade in listed species through a system of permits while allowing sustainable trade. This is correct, we can say that. So it mandates the creation of protected areas. No, it is incorrect. It completely prohibits international trade in all endangered species and their derivatives. Completely prohibit nahi karta hai, right? So we can say that B is the correct answer for this kind of. So this was, we can say that, CITES Convention. In the upcoming, let's say, videos, we are going to cover all important conventions, be it Paris Agreement or Kyoto Protocol, and related remaining, we can say that, like Earth Summit. So try to follow these sessions on regular basis, and you will be able to write answers to most of the questions in prelims as well as, we can say that, mains examination for these global conventions. If you like the video, press the like button and subscribe to Legacy IAS Academy channel for having such enriched content on regular basis. Thank you. Thank you so much.